Alright, welcome to another video on ChatGPT prompt engineering for developers. So the point of this, right, is to look at the last module, alright, where, what is this? ChatGPT prompt engineering for developers. Launching, wait, what? How diffusion model works. Building system with the ChatGPT API. What the hell? Click here to see all the course and specialization. Okay. Wait, what? Practical data science in AWS cloud. Wait, what is this? Oh, it seems like that course was over. Short course? Wait, what? Building system with ChatGPT API, ChatGPT prompt engineering. Oh, okay. Wait, what? Okay, it seems that they changed that. Okay, Jesus. What? What the holy hell? Moderation, change through reasoning, changing prompt, check out output, evaluation, part 1, part 2. What the hell is this?
Welcome to this course on building systems using the ChatGPT API. Previously, Isa and I had presented a course on how to prompt ChatGPT.
Exactly.
But the system requires much more than a single prompt or a single call to an LLM or large language model. In this short course, we'd like to share with you best practices for building a complex application using an LLM.
We'll use the running example of building an end-to-end customer service assistant system that chains multiple...
What?
We'll use the running example of building an end-to-end customer service assistant system that chains multiple calls to a language model, using different instructions depending on the output of the previous call, and sometimes even looking things up from external sources. So for example, given a user input like, tell me about what TVs are for sale, we'd use the following steps to process this. First, you can evaluate the input to make sure it doesn't contain any problematic content, such as hateful speech. Next, the system will process the input. It will identify what type of query this is it a complaint or a product information request, and so on. Once it has established that it is a product inquiry, it will retrieve the relevant information about TVs and use a language model to write a helpful response. Finally, you'll check the output to make sure it isn't problematic, such as inaccurate or inappropriate answers.
One theme you see throughout this course is that an application often needs multiple internal steps that are invisible to the end user. You often want to sequentially process the user input in multiple steps to get to the final output that is then shown to the user. And as you build complex systems using LLMs, over the long term, you often want to also keep on improving the system. So I'll also share with you what the process of developing an LLM-based application feels like and some best practices for evaluating and improving a system over time. We're grateful to...
Okay, Jesus. Line change. Interesting. I know what they're doing, man. Or I think I know what they're doing. It's like they just giving up this kind of thing and then ultimately build all of these scores. Jesus, the hell is this? Okay. Holy, holy, holy. Okay. But in the end, okay. I'm just going to they update that this is for building system with this is for building system because one of the things is for ChatGPT prompt engineering for developers, but this is for writing. And now, what are the most common paths that a ChatGPT or this LLM model works? Okay, but that's not scalable. And at the end of the day, you want things that are scalable.
One of the exciting things about a large language model is you could use.
So in any case, what I'm doing here is just look at the chat format and also my notes. Okay, so the chatbot here. Where is this? This is a chatbot, right? So Andrew mentioned that one of the exciting things about LLM is that you can about LLM is that you can use it to build your custom chatbot uh, with only a modest amount of effort. Again, but this is just a particular use case. Okay, this is a particular use case. Okay, so ChatGPT, the web interface, is a way you have conversational interface, a conversation via a large language model. But one of the cool things that you can build your own custom chatbot to maybe play a role of an to maybe play a role of an AI customer service agent or AI order taker for a restaurant. So once I look at the introduction or once I look at this huge core, okay, or this quick course, right? What they mention about is what is the main goal of this course is to see how you can use LLM as well as see how quickly it allows you to build applications that were cost prohibitive, highly technical, or nearly impossible before now. And so by see how LLM works, best practice for writing prompt as well as how you can use large language models APIs to develop capabilities that can expand your application in things like summarizing, for example, summarizing the user review for brevity. I mean, inferring, such as sentiment classification, topic extraction, transforming from one format to another, or for check spelling check and grammar corrections, as well as expanding. Okay, so giving a short set of instructions or topics, so creating a longer output for that. For example, automatically generate emails for that. And by looking at the guidelines, the principles, okay, to write effective prompts, like write specific and clear instructions, as well as couple tactics, okay, like use the limiters to clearly define different part of the input ask for structured data such as HTML or JSON, you name it. Check if the condition was satisfied to do the test. Infuse sharding, so provide a couple examples to the model and let the model work out the solution for that task. And the second principle is give the model time to think. Okay. Yeah, so give the model time to think. With things like this behaves similar to what happened when you ask a person to solve a complex math problem without giving proper time to work out the solution first. They will likely to get it wrong, much like here. And when you can do that, when you get this erroneous or this incorrect conclusions, well, reframe that in a series of steps or change to do that. So the couple of tactics is provide a set of steps to complete a task, or instruct the model to work out the solution first before rushing to a conclusion. Meaning, hey, I want you to give me if the student solution from a math problem is actually correct. So instead of just passing the entire text input and instruct the model with that, so be clear about your instruction by telling them, hey, I want you to first work out the solution for the math problem, and then compare it with the student solution and give me an answer if that is if you have or if the student solution is right or wrong based on your result, right? So that's kind of the thing that you can do here. And then, well, how you can implement, for example, or how to understand first how LLM works. Okay, so you have base LLMs and instruction tuned LLMs. And base LLM predicts the next likely word. So they are great for generating is text or creating a compound text. But when it comes to following instructions, depending on how that model was trained and articles on the internet, it will likely to not provide you the answer that you're looking for. So that's why we have instruction tuned LLM, where this start with a base LLM, and then the developers training to further training to follow or further training to further training or further developers there further training to tune in with input and outputs that attempts to follow instructions using refined techniques like human research reinforced learning with human feedback. Okay, so this is the process that they have here. So okay, cool. So because with that, people that instruct and train these models, they made that to be harmless, helpful, and harmless, helpful, and honest. So it's less likely to get some problematic output or toxic output. So after all, you can think of this model as someone that is smart enough but doesn't know the details, and you need to provide context for that. Okay, so then I look at the use case for LLMs like summarizing. Okay, especially in the today's world, which is something very, very important that we want is to read certain books or certain articles, but we don't have the time to do that. Well, what we can do is use tools like the summarizing to give a sense of what's in the text, and optionally, if we want to, digging more for that. So you can use, for example, summarizing or extract, okay, as prompt keyword and topics when it comes to summarizing. Then I look at the inferring, and here Andrew and G mentioned that before going with Andrew and G, Isa Fulford, she every time she do one of these tests, she say that, well, she think of this task where the model take the text input, okay, and perform some sort of analysis, sentiment classification, so extract names, extract labels, that kind of thing. So now Andrew explain is what happens, especially when you want to identify the sentiment of a text, which is a particular task. So in the traditional machine learning development or workflow, you have to collect the label data set and then train the model, and ultimately figuring out where to deploy that model that can be accessed for anyone, or at least it can be accessed through the internet. Okay, so this workflow works pretty well, but it is a lot of effort to do that. And if you want to, for example, now identify names or extracting names as well as other tasks, you have to train and separate a different model. But with LLM, the beauty of this is that we can just write prompts and get the result quickly, which gives tremendous speeds in terms of applications development, as well as the simplicity, because you have only one model, one API that perform different tasks. So inferring here, you can is identify the sentiment of a text, positive or negative, which is kind of creepy, but in the case, you also can identify the list of emotion based on a text, as well as information extraction, such as company or product names, right? It can be also be very dark, because you can also extract his employee's name from that text. Anyway, okay. Also, you can do several tasks as one, and inferring topics. So, for example, giving a particular text input, you can infer several topics, or the number of topics you define in the prompt, and then count that number of topics for a particular reason, right? So when it comes now to transforming, which large language models are very good to transform, it is text input into another different format, whether it is translate to one language to another, English to Spanish, marvelous, or to or for spelling check and grammar check, as well as transform from one format to another, whether it is HTML to a JSON or CSV to a JSON, that kind of thing. So transforming, okay, in here with transforming, okay, we have is several prompt topics or keywords that we can use. For example, translate from one language to another, identify a language, okay, formal or informal form. So for example, when you address to a senior, you want a particular text to be formal, which is not the same way if you talk to your younger brother or younger sister, okay. The tone, the tonality here, meaning is that you want this output as a professional journalist or something more casual. The tonality, okay, as well as another task that you can do is spell check and grammar check, right, for proofread your writing. So Isa also mentioned that anytime she writes anything, she used ChatGPT for pretty much proofread, proofread, proofread it. And then I look at expanding. So with expanding, which is a text that it takes small or a very short inputs, whether are a set of instructions or a list of topics, okay, and then having an LLMs to generate longer piece of text, whether it's email or a message. It can be helpful for brainstorm. You want a brainstorming partner, but also it's important to recognize that is problematic for use case on generating a large amount of spam. So use it responsibly. So in this section, okay, we use ChatGPT for generate a personalized email based on some data. Okay, so on expanding, we instruct the model to generate a personalized emails based on an AI bot, and also use one of the model inputs parameter called temperature, which at the end of the day, it varies the response or exploration. It varies it allows you to vary it allows to vary the degree of exploration and variety of your model response. In other words, sorry, hold it. Yes. Yes. Okay. So yeah, in other words, is this temperature what allows you is to change the kind of variety of the model response, right? So you can think of this as how random the model response will be. So for a more reliable and predictable response, set the temperature to 0, and for more creative or a variety of different outputs, use temperature around 0.3 or 0.7 when one is having a stroke. Not but is when you want a more creative output. Well, this is expanding. So in there, I instruct the model to, so based on a particular user review and a sentiment that we previously extract from that, well, creates a AI or creates an email response to satisfy if the user review, if the user or if the user review is if the user review is for some reason negative, so apologize and provide more detail about. So if the user review is negative, so provide apologies for that. If the user is positive, uh, thanks for that. Define specific details about the user review. Use a tonality, use a more formal tone to generate the response. And don't forget to sign this card, or don't forget to sign this email with an AI bot. And then you're going to provide is a different inputs for that. So okay. Cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is the quick recap from the whole course until now, right? And here we're looking at the chatbot. Okay, so again, to recap, Andrew and G mentioned that one of the exciting features of LLM is that you can use it to build your custom chatbot with only a modest amount of effort. Okay, so ChatGPT, the web interface, is a way for you to have a conversational interface. Okay, this web interface for you to have a conversational interface. Okay, a conversation via large language model. But one of the cool things is that you can build your own custom chatbot. Okay. So, but one of the cool things is that you can build your own custom chatbot to maybe play a role of a AI customer service agent, AI order taker for restaurant as well. Okay, so AI customer service agent or AI order taker for a restaurant. So ISA-Fulford is going to describe the component of OpenAI chat completion format in a more detail. Okay, so you can build a chatbot for yourself. It's going to describe the component of OpenAI chat completion formats in a more detail. Okay, let's do it.
Use it to build a custom chatbot with only a modest amount of effort. ChatGPT, the web interface, is a way for you to have a conversational interface, a conversation via a large language model. But one of the cool things is you can also use a large language model to build your custom chatbot, to maybe play the role of an AI customer service agent or an AI order taker for a restaurant. And in this video, you learn how to do that for yourself.
I'm going to describe the components of the OpenAI chat completions format in more detail, and then you're going to build a chatbot yourself. So let's get into it. So first, we'll set up the OpenAI Python package as usual. So chat models like ChatGPT are actually trained to take a series of messages as input and return a model-generated message as output. And so although the chat format is designed to make multi-turn conversations like this easy, we've kind of seen through the previous videos that it's also just as useful for single-turn tasks without any conversation. And so next we're going to define two helper functions. So this is the one that we've been using throughout all the videos, and it's the getCompletion function. But if you kind of look at it, we give a prompt, but then inside the function, what we're actually doing is putting this prompt into what looks like some kind of user message. And this is because the ChatGPT model is a chat model, which means it's trained to take a series of messages as input and then return a model-generated message as output. So the user message is the input, and then the assistant message is the output. So in this video, we're going to actually use a different helper function, and instead of kind of putting a single prompt as input and getting a single completion, we're going to pass in a list of messages. And these messages can be kind of from a variety of different roles, so I'll describe those. So here's an example of a list of messages. And so the first message is a system message, which kind of gives an overall instruction. And then after this message, we have turns between the user and the assistant. And this will kind of continue to go on. And if you've ever used ChatGPT, the web interface, then your messages are the user messages, and then ChatGPT's messages are the assistant messages. So the system message helps to kind of set the behavior and persona of the assistant, and it acts as kind of a high-level instruction for the conversation. So you can kind of think of it as whispering in the assistant's ear and kind of guiding its responses without the user being aware of the system message. So as the user, if you've ever used ChatGPT, you probably don't know what's in ChatGPT's system message. The benefit of the system message is that it provides you, the developer, with a way to kind of frame the conversation without making the request itself part of the conversation. So you can kind of guide the assistant and kind of whisper in its ear and guide its responses without making the user aware. So now let's try to use these messages in a conversation. So we'll use our new helper function to get the completion from the messages. And we're also using a higher temperature. So the system message says, you are an assistant that speaks like Shakespeare. So this is us kind of describing to the assistant how it should behave. And then the first user message is, tell me a joke. The next is, why did the chicken cross the road? And then the final user message is, I don't know. So if we run this, the response is to get to the other side. Let's try again. To get to the other side, fair Sarah, madame, 'tis an olden classic that never fails. So there's our Shakespearean response. And let's actually try one more thing, because I want to make it even clearer that this is the assistant message. So here, let's just go and print the entire message response. So just to make this even clearer, this response is an assistant message. So the role is assistant, and then the content is the message itself. So that's what's happening in this helper function. We're just kind of passing out the content of the message. So now let's do another example. So here our messages are, the system message is, you're a friendly chatbot, and the first user message is, hi, my name is Isa. And we want to get the first user message. So let's execute this with the first assistant message. And so the first message is, hello Isa, it's nice to meet you. How can I assist you today? Now let's try another example. So here our messages are, system message, you're a friendly chatbot. And the first user message is, yes, can you remind me, what is my name? And let's get the response. And as you can see, the model doesn't actually know my name. So each conversation with a language model is a standalone interaction, which means that you must provide all relevant messages for the model to draw from in the current conversation. If you want the model to draw from or quote-unquote remember earlier parts of the conversation, you must provide the earlier exchanges in the input to the model. And so we'll refer to this as context. So let's try this. So now we've kind of given the context that the model needs, which is my name in the previous messages, and we'll ask the same question. So we'll ask what my name is. And the model is able to respond because it has all of the context it needs in this kind of list of messages that we input to it. So now you're going to build your own chatbot. This chatbot is going to be called OrderBot, and we're going to automate the collection of user prompts and assistant responses in order to build this OrderBot. And it's going to take orders at a pizza restaurant. So first we're going to define this helper function. And what this is doing is it's going to kind of collect our user messages so we can avoid typing them in by hand in the way that we did above. And this is going to kind of collect prompts from a user interface that we'll build below, and then append it to a list called context. And then it will call the model with that context every time. And the model response is that, and then it will call the model with that context every time. And the model response is then also added to the context, so the kind of model message is added to the context, the user message is added to the context, so on, so it just kind of grows longer and longer. Context is then, and then it will call the model with that context every time. And the model response is then also added to the context, so the kind of model message is added to the context, the user message is added to the context, so on, so it just kind of grows longer and longer. This way the model has the information it needs to determine what to do next. And so now we'll set up and run this kind of UI to display the OrderBot. And so here's the context, and it contains the system message that contains the menu. And note that every time we call the language model, we're going to use the same context, and the context is building up over time. And then let's execute this. Okay, I'm going to say, hi, I would like to order a pizza. And the assistant says, great, what pizza would you like to order? We have pepperoni, cheese, and eggplant pizza. How much are they? Great, okay, we have the prices. I think I'm feeling a medium eggplant pizza. So as you can imagine, we could continue this conversation. And let's kind of look at what we put in the system message. So you are OrderBot, an automated service to collect orders for a pizza restaurant. You first greet the customer, then collect the order, and then ask if it's a pickup or delivery. You wait to collect the entire order, then summarize it and check for a final time if the customer wants to add anything else. If it's a delivery, you can ask for an address. Finally, you collect the payment. Make sure to clarify all options, extras, and sizes to uniquely identify the item from the menu. You respond in a short, very conversational, friendly style. The menu includes, and then here we have the menu. So let's go back to our conversation, and let's see if the assistant kind of has been following the instructions. Okay, great. The assistant asks if we want any toppings, which we kind of specified in the system message. So I think we want no extra toppings. Sure thing. Is there anything else we'd like to order? Let's get some water. Actually, fries. Small or large. And this is great because we kind of ask the assistant in the system message to kind of clarify extras and sides. And so you get the idea, and please feel free to play with this yourself. You can pause the video and just go ahead and run this in your own notebook on the left. And so Now we can ask the model to create a JSON summary that we could send to the order system based on the conversation. So we're now appending another system message, which is an instruction, and we're saying create a JSON summary of the previous food order, itemize the price for each item. The fields should be 1 pizza, include side, 2 list of toppings, 3 list of drinks, and 4 list of sides, and finally the total price. And you could also use a user message here. This does not have to be a system message. So let's execute this. And notice in this case we're using a lower temperature because for these kinds of tasks we want the output to be fairly predictable. For a conversational agent you might want to use a higher temperature. However, in this case I would maybe use a lower temperature as well because for a customer assistant chatbot you might want the output to be a bit more predictable as well. And so here we have the summary of our order. And so we could submit this to the order system if we wanted to. So there we have it. You've built your very own order chatbot. Feel free to kind of customize it yourself and play around with the system message to change the behavior of the chatbot and kind of get it to act as different personas with different knowledge.
So that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye-bye.